Kristen, where's your office? Are you actually on Loudon campus or?
Yes. So the
Okay.
Office of Dual Enrollment, we are out of Fairfax, but I live in Loudon. So
Okay. Okay.
they were able to set me up there.
Gotcha. That is an amazing campus. My daughter is actually still goes there. She's taking chemistry this summer and she loves it. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. Okay, it's about 6 o'clock. I'm going to give it one more minute. We're going to start here. Good evening, Mr. Bennett. Good to see you, sir. And thank you for joining.
Thank you, Brother Porter. Great to be here.
All right, by my clock, I have 6:01, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll keep a session open at the end for questions, just to give opportunity for anyone who came in a little late to follow up and get some answers. But I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Brian Porter. For those of you that I don't know, or I haven't had an opportunity to meet, I'm the STEM coordinator for Sigma Mu chapter of Omega Psi Phi out of Loudoun County. One of my responsibility in conjunction with kind of focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math programs is I've also, with my committee and team, we work on education solutions for students, in particular, getting kids ready for college, and which means education-wise, financial-wise, or whatever solutions that we can offer. So today, I want to take this opportunity before I introduce you to our speaker, Ms. Kristen Carter. I just want to tell you a little bit more about me. I have a 17-year-old daughter. She just graduated last month, and she's going to Virginia Tech in the fall. Now, backstory. About 4 years ago, when she was in middle school, we had a parent night at the local middle school where the guidance counselor was kind of giving kids a pep talk and parents in terms of get ready for high school and what to expect as the kids transition into their ninth grade year. And at one point during the presentation, the guidance counselor asked all of the parents and students to raise your hand if you want your kid to go to UVA or Virginia Tech or William & Mary, the best, the top 3 schools in Virginia. And basically, the majority of the family members raised their hands, representing, like, yeah, I would love for our kid to go to UVA. And then as our hands were raised, she crushed our souls collectively by saying, I'm going to tell you right now, about 95% of your children will not get into those schools. And you could feel the room deflate instantly. I mean, it was a collective gasp, like, you're the guidance counselor? Because that's kind of your job, to prepare a kid to get to the school that they want to get to. But she was a realist in some regards. She just wanted to let kids know her philosophy was be realistic and come up with a safety school. Well, at that point, I began a personal mission to do all I could to make sure that my daughter could go to whatever school she wanted to go to. So with that, and started doing research and asking other parents who had kids that were in school, and they kind of briefed me and they told me that in Northern Virginia, in Loudoun County in particular, there are a ton of smart children. It is a very competitive environment. So schools that I thought were relatively easier to get into, the George Masons, the JMU, I don't mean easy in the sense that less than, but I figured that it was not necessarily as competitive as some of the other schools. Even they were extremely competitive, and kids with 3.8s and 3.9s weren't getting into these schools. So that put me on a mission of what can we do? So in my research, I discovered that Northern Virginia community colleges and other community colleges too, most now, have partnerships with the schools within their states. And the way it works typically, if you earn an associate's degree or complete a certain number of credit hours, you can transition into the four-year school of your choice through the guaranteed admission program. So I started thinking to myself, okay, well, if I can't get her in the one way, that this is going to be an avenue again, because I wasn't big on the concept of a safety school. If my daughter wants to go to Tech, if my daughter wants to go to UVA, I feel like I should put her in a position to do so. So with that said, we started on this path and I looked at what the requirements were to get into this program. And while doing that, I discovered the dual enrollment program through NOVA. And the way that works, it basically allows your student to begin earning college credit while they're in high school. Now, most of the high schools in the area offer dual enrollment level courses at the senior level or the upperclassmen level for kids as a part of the normal curriculum. But what I didn't know, and I didn't find out until I spoke with Kristen's team, is that the kids can actually take courses on NOVA's campus if the particular course is not available at their high school. And just a little backstory with me. So with my daughter, one summer, her 10th grade year, and that was kind of that awkward year when she was too old for camps, but yet too young for a job. And we were trying to figure out what to do with her for the summer. On a humble, I just kind of enrolled her in a history course at Northern Virginia Community College, and she did well at it. Okay, so then the summer of her 11th grade year, I enrolled her in a science class and a math class, and she did pretty good at it. So by the time she transitioned into her senior year, she was able to take 2 DE dual enrollment courses while at her high school. And in addition to that, she took 2 in the evening. So by the time she graduated, and she's finishing up 1 more right now, going into Tech, she has over 45 credits. So she's already a sophomore. Actually, she's a sophomore and a half. And I ran the numbers. By doing this program and working with Northern Virginia Community College, she saved me over $40,000 in terms of tuition and room and board. So I felt that that was such a blessing, and that I really wanted to share that with other people, because going through the process, I felt like our guidance counselor didn't really push this option. I had to do a lot of legwork on my own. Even when we scheduled meetings with her, she kind of tried to steer us away from it, because she would say things like, well, some schools don't take Northern Virginia Community College credits and other things. But I'm not going to go too far down the road, because that's why I want to give Kristen an opportunity to kind of walk us through that. In fact, I'm going to be quiet. Let me go ahead and introduce her now. But I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Kristen Carter. She is the Associate Director of Dual Enrollment, Loudoun County Public Schools, or is it through Northern Virginia? I'm sorry, what's your official title?
Sure.
Okay.
I was the DE coordinator for LCPS.
Okay. There we go.
Through NOVA for the last 6 years, and then just recently transitioned as the associate director at the college. Yep.
All right. Well, with that, Kristen, you have the floor, and thank you.
Sure. Let me get my screen going. I'm happy to be here. Happy to share about this great opportunity for your students. Let me see if I move this. Hold on, I got 2 screens going on, so I want to look at the one where my camera is. I just moved the PowerPoint. Can you still see it?
No, I just see your desktop now.
So sorry. All right, let me do that again.
No problem.
Pick the wrong one. So yeah, so for the last 6 years, I've been at NOVA, and I have worked primarily only in dual enrollment. So this is my bread and butter. I know a lot, particularly about LCPS as well. So, but I know maybe not everyone's student attends there, but we definitely have partnerships across the NOVA region. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Is that better?
Yep, we can see it now. Yes.
All right, so I just want to give a little background kind of about NOVA. We are the largest public educational institution in the state and the second largest community college in the US. So what Brian was talking about, how our credits, sometimes counselors, you don't want to give a guarantee whether our credits transfer or not. They do. And people are familiar with NOVA in and out of state across the nation. We have 6 comprehensive campus locations, and you can see them noted there. So anytime a student is interested in taking classes with us, they can sign up for classes at any of the locations. If your student is interested in something specifically medical based, we do have a medical education campus in Springfield. But most of your general education classes can be taken at any of the other locations. We have over 72,000 students, so we are pretty big, over 160 degrees, associate level, some certificate programs, and we are a top 5 choice for area high school graduates. And then we do have accreditation kind of within, our region, and that's to ensure that the standards are being met what a 4 year is going to require. So when we select DE classes, we're ensuring we're selecting the most transferable within the high schools to not waste your students' time. So just want to go over some of the NOVA advantages. Brian kind of pointed some of these out for you already, but we are open access, and that means you apply to the college and you get into the college. No surprise there, but 24% of the local high school graduates do attend NOVA post high school graduation. We do have really small class sizes, about 25 to 40 max. So when we're talking to students, especially your freshman year in college, when you're taking those general education classes, some of those seminar classes can be 150, 200, 300, and then you don't get the opportunity to know your instructors very well. You are just, a number in a seat somewhere. So that's a great advantage at NOVA to take advantage of. We do have a diverse student body, over 180 countries represented. And surprisingly, even though we don't have room and board, on our campuses, we do have a study abroad program that students can take advantage of. And we have also international students that come to us and take classes as well in the States. Great faculty. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the faculty and staff that work at the college. Definitely experts in their field, and we work closely with a lot of the faculty when we're using the DE classes in the high schools, because we want to ensure that what the students are getting in the high school building would be equivalent to what they would get when they're taking it online or on campus with NOVA. So the faculty is a huge supporter of our dual enrollment program. So guaranteed admissions agreement, the GAAs, that's a big one. We'll talk later and more specifically, but we have several agreements with in-state and out-of-state colleges that will allow your student to obtain the associate's degree and then be able to transfer to their institution of choice based on a set of criteria. Flexible schedule of course offerings. And actually, since the pandemic, this has even became more flexible. So we have a lot of in-person classes, but we also have hybrid options. So students can, 1 week go to the campus, the next week it's via Zoom. But we also have our NOVA online platform. So students can take asynchronous classes if they're needing to work or, if they have other extracurricular commitments. And significant cost savings, that's no surprise. The community college price is much cheaper than your 4-year public institutions. And the next slide will kind of show you a little bit of a breakdown. So we have a good amount of Virginia public schools here listed, and you can see this is the average cost per semester versus what it would cost to take the same amount of credits at NOVA. And you can see the significant savings based on those institutions. So something to put in your back pocket. So I'll give you a little bit of information about dual enrollment and just kind of the different options your student, how they can access the college classes while they're in high school. Okay, so this is a program, it's the essential double dip. Students take one class, they get high school college credit for the same class. And these are classes that are offered kind of within the high school building. And most people aren't familiar. It is House Bill 1184. It's a law, requires local community colleges to work with their public school districts to provide these pathways for students. So some of the benefits of dual enrollment, some of it we've kind of already touched on, just benefits at the community college level, but obviously allows your student to receive the high school college credit for one class, avoids some duplication of courses. So all those freshman level general education classes, those are a lot of the gen ed classes that we're offering for dual enrollment in the high school buildings. So they can get those out of the way prior to getting to their four-year institution of choice, if that's their path. As long as you get a college credit, or as long as you get a C or better in the class on the NOVA transcript, it's guaranteed college credit, and then it's available to transfer. So you have to have that C or better in order to transfer it out. But it is appearing on a NOVA transcript, all these DE classes. We talk about that it facilitates a seamless transition from high school. So if they are experiencing these dual enrollment classes while they're in high school, they're familiar with the high school building, they're familiar with their high school teachers, but now they're being exposed to a higher level of rigor that they're going to experience in college. So it kind of creates that safe environment for them to try and experience what college would be like. Obviously lowers the cost of post-secondary education. That cost keeps going up and up. So this is a great opportunity to take advantage of. And dual enrollment students are just like any other campus students that apply to NOVA, and they can take advantage of any of the campus resources and participate in any college event or activities. So we have 24/7 tutoring through tutor.com that students can participate in and take advantage of. A lot of our campuses have writing centers students can use if they're working on a research paper and they need someone to help review and proofread their rough draft. They can set an appointment, provide that rough draft, and they can provide feedback. So, they're able to make those adjustments before they turn in for a final grade. Our librarians are also very amazing. We have librarians available 24/7, and they can get on chat if they're working late on a research paper and maybe they need one additional source to cite in a paper. Those librarians can help them, find, that journal article that they need to finish out, what they're doing in their project. So great resources available. But lots of studies have been done in dual enrollment across the nation and particularly in the Commonwealth, and that they're showing that students who have participated in dual enrollment programs have higher high school graduation and college enrollment rates. And DE students have higher persistent and retention rates, as well as higher GPAs when they get to college. So all good things coming out of dual enrollment. So one of the age-old questions we always get asked is AP or DE. Should my student take AP over DE? So we'll just go over just a few differences between the two, just so you understand some of the differences. So AP is open enrollment, meaning any student can sign up for an AP class typically, and they don't have to meet eligibility requirements. Whereas DE, you have to show college readiness in English and math. So we show eligibility, and I'll have a slide later specifically on how you meet the criteria, either via GPA, standardized testing scores, or we have what's called the Virginia Placement Test, or the VPT, at the college to place into these classes. The DE teachers must meet the same requirements of our college professors. So when we're offering a DE class in your high school building, we credential the existing teachers there. So essentially, typically they're having that master's degree in the content area, and they become NOVA adjuncts for us. And then articulated credit versus guaranteed credit. So articulating credit for AP, essentially you're in an AP class, you could be getting an A in the class all year long. And then come May, you have AP exams. And that's the big exam and then you get a score 1 through 5, and that's the exam, the score that each college determines if they're going to accept that for college credit or not. So your student, like I said, could get an A all year and then have a bad test day, and maybe they got a 3 on it. Now, maybe the college of choice wants a 4 or better. That means they wouldn't get the college credit because they only got a 3 on the exam. Frustrating. So something to consider when you're considering an AP class versus DE. Just because, you know, you're banking on that one test, and if your student isn't a strong test taker, so that's something to factor in. But DE is guaranteed, meaning the DE credit shows up on the NOVA transcript, and like I mentioned before, if it's a C or better, it transfers out to a 4-year institution. So we already talked about that culminating test, but then DE often provides more college credit than its counterpart. So typically, when we're offering DE classes in the high school, we pair one high school class with typically 2 college classes. So a lot of students will take US history 121, 122, their junior year of high school. History 121 is offered in the fall for a total of 3 credits. History 122 is offered in the spring for a total of 3 credits. So that's a total of 6 college credits that they can get. So as long as you get the C or better, that's transferring. Now on the AP counterpart, typically you're getting, if you get the score of choice that your college is willing to accept, you're typically only getting the 3 college credit. So that's what we mean, that you're typically getting more college credits when it comes to DE. And as long as it's offered in the high school building, it is at no cost to the student. So that's free tuition for you. Now, these college offerings in the high school buildings are going to vary because, like I was mentioning before about the faculty requirements, it limits the amount of teachers. A lot of teachers have a Master of Education degree, and it has to be a pure degree, a master's. So like they're going to teach math, it has to be a master's degree in math or a master's degree in history to teach, where it is not a Master of Education. So that's where we come in. It gets a little tricky when we're trying to credential as many teachers as we can to offer more DE classes. So it all depends on who's in that high school building that can become credentialed to offer more classes. And there's a weighted GPA bump. Typically it's a 1.0. I believe there's some districts that have stripped the GPA bump or the bumps altogether. But typically a DE class or an AP class are usually getting the same 1.0 GPA when it comes to the high school GPA. All right, so some types of DE classes, we have dual credit and college credit only. So dual credit meaning these are offered in the high school building. The student is it's gonna show up on the high school transcript and the NOVA transcript, and they're gonna get credit at both institutions, okay? And these can be taken on campus, online, through contract dual enrollment. And then college credit only, we have options. So say your students, reached a max in math and they want to take additional math classes. They could come to us in the summer, they could come to us during the school year and take that college credit for college credit only. And it just appears on the NOVA transcript, contributes to the NOVA college GPA. And the different types of classes we offer are general education and career and technical ed, or CTE. So general education, those are plugging into our associate's degrees and are designed to transfer to 4-year colleges. So think your history, your English, your math, your lab sciences. Those are our general ed classes. Career and technical education, those are designed to plug into our applied degrees. And applied degrees are terminal at NOVA, meaning once you get that degree, the plan is to go right into the workforce. You can use that degree and get a job with it. Okay, so think nursing, we have HVAC, we have auto. A lot of the classes, I'm trying to think for CTE based classes that we offer for dual enrollment in the high school, business and marketing, we have early childhood classes, just a variety of options. Some IT options are CTE based as well. So when we're selecting classes to be offered in these high schools, like I mentioned before, we want them to be the most transferable, okay? So we're ensuring that, we check on transfer rates, particularly in the state of Virginia. We want to, the public institutions to be accepting these classes, rather than haphazardly, let's just offer a class because a teacher can be credentialed, but then it doesn't help them. And maybe it goes to an elective at the four-year institution or doesn't transfer at all. That doesn't really serve the purpose of dual enrollment. So we are more particular about the classes that we are offering students. So I've touched a little bit about the delivery options, but of options what students can take the different types of dual enrollment while they're in high school, okay? So what I was particularly talking about at the beginning was contract dual enrollments, and I'm jumping to the bottom point right there. So contract dual enrollment in the high school building means it's taught by the high school faculty, they become NOVA adjuncts, and it's during the high school day. It's in their schedule. They're not leaving their high school to come to campus. These are contract dual enrollment and they are free tuition. And the class consists of only high school students, okay? So that's the kind of the safe environment I was talking about. They can take these in their high school building. But then we have what's called independent dual enrollment. And these classes can be taken on campus or NOVA Online, our NOVA Online platform. On campus, these are taught by NOVA faculty, and they would be intermixed with all curricular NOVA students. So students of all ages would be in these classes. They can be in person, or we do have a lot of virtual synchronous options, and that's going to be full tuition. And right now, I believe we're at $185.50 a credit hour is what you're looking at. And typically a 3-credit class is what you're looking. So maybe like $500 to $600 for one class is what you'd be looking at for on campus. And NOVA Online, so this is a completely different option. So NOVA Online is asynchronous, meaning there isn't a set time you log into Zoom. You work at your own pace. You have deadlines throughout your week, and you would be taking this in addition to your high school schedule. So this takes a lot of planning, a lot of time management. I think there's a misconception that online classes are easier because you're not having to go back and forth with the instructor, but there is a lot more work involved. So definitely something to consider when you're talking with your students about this option, because they really do need to be self-motivated, have good time management skills, things like that. But that also is full tuition. All right, so this is the DE eligibility. Typically it's for high school juniors and seniors. Most of the classes that we offer in the high school buildings are junior, senior level. So like US history or a history class is offered junior year. I know our college composition class, English 111, 112 is offered senior year because we pair it with their English 12 DE requirement in the high school districts. They have to meet all course and prerequisites, just like any NOVA student would be in order to take these classes. But we do allow 9th and 10th graders to also take classes. And those are reviewed by a college designee on a case-by-case basis. There is a higher GPA threshold for these classes when you're taking it at the 9th or 10th grade level. And if you don't meet the GPA requirements, we have standardized test scores that you can look at. And you can see right there, we take PSAT, ACT, SAT, and then you need a high school transcript as well. Now, if you don't qualify by any of those means, we have what's called the VPT testing, or the Virginia Placement Test. And that can be taken at any of our NOVA campuses and our testing centers. And they could take that to qualify to see if they're eligible for the classes. And then for any math and science classes, there are some additional prereqs that would be required. Like for instance, I know a lot of students may be taking Calculus 3, and you have to have like an AP Calc score of 4 or higher in order to get into that class. So that's just an example of what additional requirements may be needed. So I'm not going to go over this chart. It kind of already talks about a little bit what we've talked about. So the high school-based dual enrollment, this is at your high school. The independent dual enrollment, you sign up, pay full tuition, take it on campus or online with NOVA. But then we also have the early online college option. And Brian, I'm not sure if your student took advantage of this, so I'm excited to share about it. So early online college, So when did this start? I believe during the pandemic year in 2020. We worked with our local jurisdictions to reallocate capital gains funds to be used for this early online college program. And essentially it allowed qualified high school juniors and seniors to take up to 2 free classes each semester within their participating district. So they have to still meet the same eligibility requirements, but these courses are college credit only. So they aren't and you select from a list of classes. And these are general education classes typically. And they're not going to compete with what's already offered in the high school. It's to complement what you're already taking for dual enrollment in the high school. Now, the big thing about these is they are asynchronous through Nova Online. So again, you want to consider your student, their ability to time manage and what other extracurricular activities they're dealing with. But you essentially could get 2 free classes, so 2, 4, 6, 8 classes your junior and senior year, if this is the right fit for you and you have a participating district that is contributing to this early online college fund. Students are only responsible to pay for their course text and materials, and I have a website there you can visit. Right now it has what's available for fall, and we actually, early online college, the deadline to submit for this is July 31st. So you can see the list of classes and it breaks it down what classes require text and the cost of text, or that require free OER or online educational resources. So you can make that determination as well. But these are 12-week sessions and they are happening asynchronously during the fall semester and during the spring. So while your students got their full high school load, they're also taking these classes in addition. So that's early online college. The other program is Jumpstart to Nova, another free option for students if they're thinking of coming to Nova once they graduate high school, okay? So this happens the summer before, their freshman year of college, essentially. So right now we have students in the program, they just graduated in the spring, they're in Jumpstart to Nova, and then they would be starting their fall semester at Nova. Now, you have the option to take 1 class plus our SDV 100, which is a student development skills class, and that every program requires SDV 100 at the college. So you can take up to 4 credits for free the summer before you're heading into your fall semester. These are tuition free. Students, again, just like early online college, are responsible for textbook and course materials, and they are online asynchronous. And then what's great about this option, we partner with our Nova Online department, and they have Nova Online support student success coaches. So they're available for students, should they have questions, need help, and we have info sessions throughout the summer on a weekly basis. So we're bringing them information in how to use the librarian. So we have the librarians visit, or financial aid, information about financial aid, or I'm trying to think, transfer options. Once you finish at Nova, what are your plans? Kind of working through some traditional college level questions that they're interested in. So the enrollment process at Nova is different for any of those options I shared with you, okay? So contract dual enrollment in the high school building, they should have already worked with their high school counselor the spring before the new school year. So when they're doing course requests in their high school building, they're talking with their high school counselor to find out the DE options and how to sign up for those, okay? And then we work with the high schools to get their eligibility scores to ensure they meet the requirements. And then the the college enrolls them. So in the state of Virginia, high school students aren't allowed to self-enroll themselves. So the Office of Dual Enrollment, my office, we handle all of those enrollments for these students. So independent dual enrollment, there's a specific form, or if you have homeschool students, there's another specific form for that as well. And you have to select the classes that you're interested in. So when the schedule of classes are released for the next semester, you select what classes, the specific one, and you have to get signatures. And typically the high school has to sign off for you. So like your high school counselor or principal has to sign that you can take this additional class. That's full tuition. And then you work with DE coordinators in our office, and you have to provide a high school transcript. So just a slightly different process than what you do with the dual enrollment in the high school. Early online college, that's strictly for, so those are college credit only classes. So it's the student's responsibility to register, submit their transcript to ensure that, to show that they're eligible, and then we'll enroll them. But I have a checklist link below, and I'm going to provide Brian with these slides so you can visit and see, you know, read through it to see what's required. All right, so just some expectations for dual enrollment. I'm sure most of you are aware the college grading policies at the high school has changed significantly. And so you know, there's no deadlines, there's unlimited retakes, you turn in stuff whenever you want, which we know that's not college level expectations. And that's not real world expectations, if that makes sense. You know, when you're in a job, you don't just turn in a, you know, a project whenever you want. It's, you know, you have to set to your deadlines. So when students start dual enrollment, we want them to be aware of these differing policies. And that the college transcript is permanent. So a lot of students will say, I'm not coming to Nova, so it doesn't really matter. Well, but the requirement is you still have to submit that college transcript to any of your four-year institutions of choice. So you want to take it seriously. But the deadlines have to be met. We have drop and withdrawal windows for students. So say maybe they've never, you know, taken an AP or an honors class, but want to try dual enrollment. We have like a drop window and a withdrawal window. So say like they try it, maybe it's a little over their head. We want them to first utilize resources at the college. Talk to the dual enrollment instructor to see, you know, how they can best assist them before dropping out. And, you know, I don't want to take it anymore just because it got hard. We want them to know that there's supports in place to help them be successful. But they do have drop and withdrawal windows. The big part is self-advocacy. Students are the ones involved in these conversations with the parents, okay? So, I'm sorry, students with the DE instructors. So if they know they're going to be out on an assignment deadline, they have to submit ahead of time. Or if there was an emergency that happened, they would be the one communicating, because we want to train them what it would be like in college. Because when you get, you know, to your 4-year, the parent's not reaching out to the instructor. It's the student that has to do that and advocate for themselves and share, you know, what's been going on. So we want to teach them early in dual enrollment, you know, how to best approach that. Accommodations and accessibility. So the college isn't bound by 504 IEPs. That's a K-12 statute. So if students would like accommodations and accessibility services and accommodations within their dual enrollment classes, they must apply through the college. And then the college would, if approved, provide them with an MOA, which is a memorandum of accommodations. And then the student is responsible to then provide that to their dual enrollment instructor, or if they're taking a class on campus, they provide that to their instructor. These aren't retroactive, so if students are interested in taking the classes, they want to apply for accommodations as soon as possible, just so they're in place when their class begins. All right, I'm almost done, I promise, and then we'll have some time for questions. All right, transferability. So again, second largest community college in the nation, our credits transfer in, out of state, and we work with many of our public institutions to ensure that what we are offering here at Nova will transfer to them. Each college has their unique transfer requirements. So that could change daily. At one point, they could require a 3 on an AP exam, and now they want a 4. You know what I mean? So we can't know all the college policies. But what's great is a lot of larger institutions have what's called a transfer equivalency database on their website. And all you need to do, you plug in Northern Virginia Community College. I took History 121 and got a B. And then it kind of spits it out how it would show up on a program plan at that institution of choice. If that's not available and it's a smaller school, just call the admissions office to see. One, if they prefer AP or over DE, but DE is becoming so much more popular now that it's being accepted everywhere, pretty much. But then also how it would maybe apply. And sometimes students may need to provide a course syllabus or a course description for them to accept it, and plug it into like a core or general education class. So we have seen that. But we do give transfer assistance at the college. We have transfer counselors that work specifically with students to plan their programs. And then we also have many transfer fairs where lots of four-year institutions come to us at all our campuses, and we host transfer fairs, and you can talk with them about that. So guaranteed admissions. So we have GAAs with over 40 area colleges and universities. And essentially, each of those universities will have their own set of criteria, what is required in order for it to transfer over. Now, so you have to fit one, I know you have to finish the associate's degree. So if you would like to be a part of the guaranteed admissions. So not saying that the classes just can't transfer, but when you get into a guaranteed admissions agreement, the agreement is that the institution of choice, this four-year partner, is going to accept the full associate's degree and all the credits will transfer in because you have met the certain criteria. So there'll be a GPA requirement. Maybe they only accept certain programs. So then you have a path that you have to follow. I need to take these classes because these are the classes I know for guaranteed admissions are going to transfer to that school I want to go to. So this takes a lot of planning. So you want to pull that MOU. So if you go to the GAA website, it'll have all of our partner institutions as well as the GAA MOU that you can pull and look at to see what the requirement is. So you can start planning early. So top 5 transfer institutions, about 90% of our students transfer to in-state institutions, so public and private. And you can see them there, some of the public and private institutions of where NOVA graduates are transferring. And this is just a sample of GAAs. This is agreements we have. So you can see we have agreements with, and this is doesn't list all of them. Like I said, it'll be on our website. But you can see we have private, public institution. We have an international. If one of your students is dying to go to Scotland, we have a GAA, in Scotland. But just something to look at, and because all your dual enrollment credits are applying on a NOVA transcript, and those plug in to a degree. Okay, so they're working on those college credits early. So like Brian was saying, his daughter's already taken like 40, 45 credits. If it's plugged into an associate's degree is like a little over 60, 62, 63 credits. So if she were to have taken all the classes that she needed, there's only a little bit more before an associate's degree is obtained. And then you can participate in a guaranteed admission agreement transfer.
I tried my best to get her to finish that, and she was in a hurry to get out of the house. So
I get it. It's all right. But one last transfer opportunity I want to specifically share about, because I know a lot of students are interested in Mason kind of in this area. And my understanding too is Mason's become very difficult for a lot of Northern Virginia students to get into. But we have this great partnership called Advance. And essentially you are declaring once you're graduating, like your freshman year, that we want to be in the advanced program. And then essentially you are simultaneously enrolled in Mason and NOVA. So you take NOVA classes the first 2 years at the NOVA costs, but you're at the same time a Mason student. And then the second 2 years you're taking Mason classes at their tuition costs. And you get a NOVA and a Mason degree. Now, what's nice about this is you don't go through the regular admissions process as what seniors would be going through to get into Mason initially. Okay, so once you're accepted into the advanced program, you're on a path to go straight to Mason. So definitely the advanced program is something to look into if your student is interested in staying local and heading over to Mason. But what's nice, like you can see, you get services at both locations, both institutions. So you're set up with a counselor that works with you and tracks with you to make sure you're on the path to complete at Nova and then to finish at Mason. But you can certainly look up Advance on our website for more details if Mason is a choice of your students. And I am done talking, I promise, for now. So what are some burning questions you may have?
There's a question in the chat that says, can you go to an HBCU or any college that accepts dual enrollment in the state and in the country? So
can you take the credits? Is that what it's asking?
Yes.
Absolutely. So you could take these credits anywhere, essentially. So like I mentioned, every institution is going to have their own transfer policies. But I would first check their website to see if you can decide if these classes, so if you're looking at the early online college program, okay, the EOC program, you can see what classes are available and see how they would plug in at the other college by going on to their website to view that transfer equivalency database.
I know for a fact, my daughter in particular was looking at Spelman, and they took all of her courses. And I know all the Virginia HBCUs as well. Hampton, Norfolk, VSU, Virginia Union, they all take them as well. So I see Mr. Drummer, hand raised.
Thank you, Brother Porter, and thank you, Ms. Carter. I am Robert Drummer. I am Mr. Porter's counterpart, if you will, with Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm over in the Omicron Kappa Kappa chapter, which represents Reston and Herndon areas. And so, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to help educate us on this. I have 3 daughters who have all graduated high school in Northern Virginia, and one who is currently at Northern Virginia Community College. And I wish, well, hindsight's 2020. She took a bunch of AP courses, and so when you were discussing the difference between those and the DE courses, I'm now paying for courses at Nova that she could have taken for free at during high school, but nonetheless, I digress. So my question is, really regarding your Reston Center. I notice on your website that is part of your Loudoun campus, and so more specifically, again, our chapter has kind of geographical jurisdiction and footprint over in that portion of Northern Virginia, and just kind of curious in terms of the offerings at the Reston Tech Center, particularly for students who are attending Reston and Herndon high schools, if you can speak to that.
Sure. Well, specifically for Herndon, and we have a partnership with Fairfax County Public Schools. So we have dual enrollment over in FCPS that they can take advantage of. Reston Center, Town Center, not the Town Center, but our location has definitely dual enrollment offering classes that they could take. Now, when they're searching schedule of classes, you can filter by what campus you want to take it to see what's available. Particularly in the summer or, in the fall or spring semesters, depending on what they're looking at. They may have limited offerings. It's not as large as one of our campuses, our comprehensive campuses that offer all the general education classes, but there's definitely things available. But they would just want to filter at the schedule of classes to Reston to see what's available to them. And then you did make a good point that I didn't touch on about AP credit. So even if students took AP classes, they can have those transferred into Nova and applied as transfer credit on the Nova transcript, which then could help them towards an associate's degree. So it's called credit for prior learning. and they would just have to submit those AP exam scores in order to determine what classes they can kind of opt out of based on those AP exams that they took.
I see a hand raised, Ms. Hawkins.
Yes, hello, good evening. Thank you guys so much for this presentation, first. I've learned so much. My name is Brooke Hawkins. I'm from the Loudoun County chapter of Mocha Moms Incorporated, and I'm also from the Iota Epsilon Sigma chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. I have a son who we're in Loudoun County Public Schools. My son is going to 9th grade at Broad Run. And I had a question. I saw on the slide that you said for 9th and 10th graders, when it comes to DE, that would be up for individual review. But what is the process for that? Do they get a recommendation from the teacher? Do the parents have to fill out information? Like, how exactly would that work?
Sure. So if they're going to take the class in the high school building, it's determined by the classes that they offer. So I'm trying to think, some of the underclass DE classes in the high school that I've seen, it depends on where they're at, math track and science track. So some of our biology classes, when we offer them in high schools, sometimes they're taking it their sophomore year. Or our academies classes, if they apply and go to any of their academies, those may be freshman, sophomore year as well, because they're on a track. So it all depends first on what DE offerings. So, but like, the US history is always offered typically for juniors. So you're not necessarily applying as an underclass to take that, because they've designated that as the junior year was when they're taking it. But you essentially, what you do is you still follow the same process as working with your school counselor. And then we get a high school transcript to ensure that they meet the eligibility. And then once we review and approve, the students just enrolled in the class like any other junior or senior would be.
And I will add that, again, my daughter took going into her 10th grade, and the process was relatively simple. We had to provide a copy of transcripts, and I think a PSAT score, I believe. And again, there were some classes that there was a prerequisite established, but she took a political science class, which was one that didn't require, it satisfied a sociology requirement, a social science requirement, and it didn't require a prerequisite. So that was just kind of, get her feet wet a little bit. So
yeah, and Brooke, if your child if there's not a lot at the DE or at the high school and you want to take on campus or online, that's just submitting a form and their transcript showing that eligibility as an underclass, and then we just review in our office.
Perfect.
There's a couple of questions, and can you see the chat, Kristen?
Yes, let me pull that up.
Okay, because there's one from Ms. Holloway, and one from Sean as well.
It says, one is asking, is there a minimum number of courses you have to take? No. Nope. So typically when you're taking the high school classes in the high school building, or the DE classes, you're normally, like I said, you're pairing it with 2 classes. So you're signing up for the year-long high school class. So if we pair it with 2 college classes, you're just getting the 6 credits that benefit, because it's paired with the 1 year at the high school. But taking it, you can definitely be part-time, taking dual enrollment, independent dual enrollment at the on campus or online at Nova.
And another one from Sean. For kids in the guaranteed admissions program, do they need a GPA of 3.0?
Each college has their own GPA set. So not all is a 3.0. So like I said, pull the MOU off our website for the GAA of the institution of choice to see prior to deciding, you know what I mean? This is what, especially too, if it's a specific program that you have to take as well, like associate's degree, this is what the track you have to take in order to take it. But the GPA varies by each college.
And there's a hand raised by TT.
Hi there. Thanks so much. My name is Tasha Tamaklo. And I also hi there. That's okay. I only have TT listed here. I did also post my question within the chat. And Ms. Carter, forgive me, you might have covered this, but I must have missed it in terms of timing for application. So is it the summer prior to our students entering, for instance, their junior or senior year, or even as a rising freshman or sophomore for those individual considerations? Or is that something we have to coordinate with the counselor?
Typically the district's gonna have, or their individual high school will have their own deadline. And it's typically the spring, sometime in the spring prior to that fall semester when they're beginning their next school year. So you'd want to check with your district to determine if there was a deadline. I know sometimes they make exceptions, sometimes they have rolling, it all depends. So that's not something that the college determines for them with our partner districts. For any classes for like early online college, if they're going into junior year, they do have the July 31st deadline, and they don't need the high school approval for that, so they could sign up on our website. It has the steps on what they can do. And then, but yeah, you'd want to work with the high school counselor to determine, or the district to determine if there was a previous deadline for next school year's dual enrollment in the high school. For independent DE, let me just add that. For independent DE, if you're wanting to take a NOVA online class or a NOVA on-campus class, at any point, it all depends on when the class is starting and if it's filled. So like, for instance, summer is typically released in like February or March, the schedule of classes, and those summer classes fill up fast because so many kids are coming home from college and they're taking classes with us over the summer. So if your students could be interested in summer, you'll want to look, next February or March, once that scheduled class is released, that you can get those, the registration steps completed. So to ensure you have a spot in the class of your choice.
We have a hand raised from Sean.
Yeah, a question for you. For your out-of-state schools, is there a list where you have the schools that are listed for out-of-state? So kids will know if they want to go to schools out-of-state, that the NOVA classes will transfer over there?
Sure, our classes are going to transfer in and out of state, so we don't have a list. But what I would recommend is either talking with the admissions office about the classes or checking their website first to see if they have a database available to determine before you select a class how it's going to transfer into them. So, and what I mean how is it going to plug into general education, or is it going to fall into electives in their program plan? They still would get credit either way, but it would be nice to not have to repeat a general education class.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, and I know the answer, but I had to, I asked the question, so make sure everyone knows this too. The grade you get from NOVA, the NOVA course you take, does that grade transfer to the school, your 4-year?
No. So as long as you get the C or better, it goes through as transfer credit, but doesn't contribute to the GPA at that 4-year. You're just getting the credit for the class and you don't have to take it again.
And that was my concern, because when I was first trying this out, I didn't know how my daughter would do. So I didn't want her to potentially tarnish her GPA at her 4-year. But I learned that they will just basically, you'll get a check mark that you successfully completed the course, and it will not have an impact on your overall GPA. So that kind of quelled my concerns a little bit.
Correct. Looks like
okay. Another good question. Can you speak to tutoring services available to DE students?
Sure. So that is 24/7 through tutor.com. Multiple disciplines are included. You can set up an appointment so many times, I think, throughout the semester. But as long as you're enrolled in a NOVA DE class, you can take advantage of that. So definitely something to look into, especially if it's a first time taking, college level class, to know what supports are available up front. you know, should the student feel like they're over their head and need some additional help, but we have that available for them.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I'm going to put my address in the chat really quick. So send me an email, and Kristen, if you send me the slides, I will share them with the group.
Yes, most definitely.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today and giving us a very, very informational presentation. I learned a lot, and I've gone through the process because I did not know about the program where there were free tuition options. That is something really cool. So I really hope that, you know, some of us can take advantage of that. But again, this program is awesome. I highly endorse it. What really wanted me to put this together is my daughter just went through. She met with her counselor at school, and we just went line for line. She said, okay, yeah, we take this, we take this, we take this, and just every credit they took it towards, and they weren't just electives. These were just all of her core general education classes. Oftentimes the classes that students have a hard time with when transitioning into college, completely satisfied. And she's transitioning, hopefully smoothly into her sophomore year. But the program is awesome. So thank you so much.
Yes, most definitely. Thanks for having me. Feel free to reach out at any point too if you have additional questions. Okay.
Absolutely. Again, guys, send me an email and I will share the slides with you. And thanks again.
Yep. Take care.
Take care.